friends, welcome to the Plaid X2 channel. My name is John. On this channel we talk all things physical media, movies, music, and books. If you're into that kind of thing, go ahead and subscribe down below for more of that kind of content. Friends, this video is a response video to a challenge put out to the community by a newer YouTuber. His name is Altaz. CineArtTherapy is his channel. And if you have not subscribed to his channel, I cannot recommend highly enough for you to check out his channel and subscribe. I love it when you find a channel in this community that is just different from other channels, and his is that. His goes really deep sometimes. Yes, there's some haul videos where he'll show what he's picked up, he picks up amazing films, but then there's these other videos that he just kind of like unpacks videos at another level and just really, really deep and rich and got a lot of substance to it. And so anyway, you've got to check out his channel, but he recently put out a challenge to the community. And this was a really deep challenge. It was fun, I enjoyed it, but it was deep and it's really meaningful. And so the challenge was to share 10 films that remade you, that you saw, and it really changed how you saw life. It changed your perspective on things. It changed how you understood things, ideas, your experiences. And so I thought that was such a unique challenge to the community and one that I wanted to take part in. Now, it's one of those challenges where I can't just respond right away because I needed to take time to go through my collection and needed to take time to think about how these films remade me and actually changed me in some ways. So I did come to 10 films and I want to share those films with you. But again, please do in the description down below, before you even watch my video, go to his channel, Altaz's channel, CineArtTherapy, subscribe, and I would encourage you to participate in this challenge. This is a meaningful one. There was times in preparing for this that I actually got teared up, thinking about the impact these films have had on my life and how they continue to impact my life. So anyway, friends, these are 10 films that remade me in various ways, and I'd love to share them with you. So these films are not in order of which one had the biggest impact on my life. These are all in alphabetical order, and so that's the order they're in and why they're in this order. The first film I'll share with you, I don't have a physical copy of the film, but I do have the book, and it is 12 Years a Slave, Solomon Northup. And this film I watched a handful of years ago. If you haven't seen this film, I highly recommend you check out this film. This film, if you've seen films on slavery, they obviously deeply emotionally impact you. They wreck you, and it makes you sick. It makes you angry. And I experienced all of those. And I was watching the film, and there was multiple times in the film where I teared up and I got angry, and there was times where I felt sick. And I was expecting to feel some of those feelings in having seen films talking on this subject of slavery. What I didn't expect to see, feel, and change me was at the end of the film. And this is a bit of a spoiler. If you haven't seen the film, this will spoil it for you. But, so fast forward or pause, whatever you got to do, hit the audio off. At the end of the film, when he comes home after 12 years, after he was taken and enslaved for 12 years, he shows up at the door. He opens the door and his family is standing there, and it's this incredibly deep and somber moment as he's standing before his family, who he has not seen in forever, his wife and his kids. And the first words out of his mouth was he apologized. And when I saw that, I immediately broke down and I was so angry that he felt the need to apologize. He did nothing wrong. And for me, what changed me was it taught me that there are certain levels of grief that I have just no clue about. And even though I may have watched multiple films on the subject of slavery, there are just levels, aspects, angles of grief that I cannot know and I cannot understand. And to hear an apology come from his mouth when he stood in front of his family after all that he had endured, it wrecked me. And it remade me. And it made me rethink understanding people's grief and understanding how people may feel things that I might not even imagine they would feel in that moment. I did not expect an apology from him. I expected something very different. And so this film it wrecked me, and it's so powerful. And so I had to pick up the book after seeing the film. But that moment when he apologized, that changed me, and it changed something in me when it comes to trying to understand the grief and feelings of other people and what they go through, and to never fall into the trap of thinking this is how someone must feel when they go through this, or this is what this experience would be like, when I've never experienced that. And so that scene, just so powerful. But friends, 12 Years a Slave is a film that it definitely remade me. All right, so now you might think this is a ridiculous thing to talk about such a weighty film and then go to this film I want to talk about, and you're thinking, this is ridiculous, you didn't take this serious. But I absolutely mean this. This film you might think is silly, but hear me out on this. So this film is Disney Pixar's Inside Out, and this film destroyed me. So in my life, I had gone through this enormous transition in life, and where I had moved, and I have left family, friends, everything that I'd known for a very long time, went to a new place, new job, new everything, and I was deeply struggling. Ended up in some pretty dark places internally, struggling, and I started watching this film. So I picked this up obviously just as a family film for the family, and I'm watching this and weeping. Again, friends, if you've not seen this film, I'm gonna spoil it. There's a moment when Riley, this little girl, so in this film, all of these characters are her emotions that are all living and existing in her at the same time. And they're all there in different moments, different levels of intensity, but they're all there. But she's struggling, she moves, and she goes to a new place, and she hates it. She doesn't like it, doesn't want to be there. And she's deeply struggling. And I saw this at the exact time when I was going through a lot of those things. And there's a scene where she attempts to run away, to hop on a bus and just to book it out of there. And she comes back home, she makes the decision not to. She comes back home and she stands in front of her parents who are so worried about her, and she just breaks down and just starts weeping. And all that she's been feeling and holding on to, it just breaks her. And there's this really powerful moment of honesty where she just talks about she doesn't want to be here. She doesn't want to be a part of this. And for me, that was at the exact moment in life where I was feeling all of those feelings. And so the film kind of helps you. And what's so cool, if you watch the special features, they use psychologists to write this film. So you might look at it and go, it's just a kid's movie. It's really not. They use some psychologists to kind of unpack through an animated film the things that we go through, the emotions we go through in transition and change and grieving. And so this film was amazing for me in helping me really through an animated film to understand that sometimes change happens and you cannot reverse that. And you can't just, well, I'm going to quit this job, I'm going to move back. Sometimes you just can't do that. And most of the time you can't do that. And so sometimes you have to get to the place where you accept it. And a lot of the different emotions you feel, you have to go, well, that's just going to be a part of the story now. And I need to learn to figure out a way to navigate this and to write new stories and to accept what was in the past, accept where we are now, and then to accept where we're going to be, at least for the near future. And so this was a really powerful film that at a time where I was just really struggling, this, what seems like a really simple, silly animated film kind of came in and helped me, just kind of said, hey, you need to accept this. And the emotions are real, and they're good, and they're okay, and they're normal. But this is the new normal now, and this is where life is at. And so this film kind of came at just the right time. And if you think it's silly, that's okay. But it's a really powerful film, and it remade me in a lot of ways at a time when I was transitioning and I needed just a little bit of encouragement, and this was great for that one. So anyway, films that remade me, Inside Out. So the third film that I'll mention that remade me, this changed how I saw so much. This is a Criterion film, spine number 505, and it is Make Way for Tomorrow from 1937. This film is, I know some people describe this film as depressing. I don't find it particularly depressing. This really opened my eyes to understanding better time. It's about a couple, an elderly couple, and they're growing old. They can no longer take care of themselves. Their kids neither of them are able to take both parents, and so they can each take one, so they're now going to live apart from each other. And this film remade me in helping me see differently time. Time is moving, and I don't get any of this back. And one day, there's a scene at the end, again, this might not be the best video for you to watch if you don't want these movies to be spoiled. There's a scene at the end where these two are together and they're at this dinner date, and you immediately think of, man, I bet they had that 50, 60 years before, where they had everything in front of them and all these dreams, and we'll have kids and we'll have jobs and the house and the whole thing. And now they're at the other end. and they're at this dinner date, and they're about to be split up because they can no longer manage living on their own. And it just changed how I saw time in my own life, how it's moving, but it also kind of helped me have feel stronger feelings of empathy and compassion. Even when you think about your own parents, your own grandparents. If you were younger, I'm not that young, middle-aged, but when you're younger, you feel like you've got everything in front of you all of this time, you're invincible, and we don't, and we're not. And our parents and grandparents once felt the way that we feel now, and that we have all this time. And so there is a level of grief and mourning when you no longer have that time, and when that time is gone. And that dinner date at the end is just so deeply, deeply moving. So this film remade me, and it helped me have more empathy and compassion for those who are older than me, and to see them as who they were when they were younger, and the dreams that they had, and the emotions that they had. And also it helped remake me in that I saw time as being so valuable for me, and it will one day be gone. And I know that could sound depressing, but it's not. It makes it valuable. And so this film remade me when it comes to time, when it comes to empathy, when it comes to compassion, when it comes to thinking about the story at the end, when it comes to thinking about the people in my life who are closer to the end of their story. And it's just so, so good. I cannot recommend this one enough. So anyway, films that remade me, this one powerfully remade me and helped me see things very differently, make way for tomorrow. So the next film that remade me, and my good friend Stephanie, I've talked about this film on the channel before. My good friend Stephanie recommended it to me. I watched it, it destroyed me, and I messaged her. I said, it might be the best movie I've ever seen in my life. And I stand by it. It's so, so good. It's the film 9 Days. This is such a unique story, and it's about this group of people, and there's a period of 9 days. They exist. This is my interpretation of it. Again, if you haven't seen the film, maybe fast forward it. They exist, but they don't exist. And they're all kind of vying or hoping for the opportunity to experience life and to have a full life and have all the ups and downs, the heartbreaks and the joy, everything, to experience it all. And at the end of 9 days, one of these people will have the opportunity to experience all that, to experience life. And there's an end scene that I won't spoil that is just so powerful and so overwhelming. And when I was done watching this film, the only thing I could feel was just an immense sense of gratitude that I'm alive. Statistically, I shouldn't be. None of us should be. I mean, it's crazy that we even have the opportunity to be alive. We have the opportunity to laugh, the opportunity to watch film, the opportunity to cry, the opportunity to be in relationship with other people. All of that, the fact that we have that is insanely powerful, and it is such a gift. And at the end of this film, I just was at tears running down my face and was just so thankful I'm alive. And yes, there's hard things in my life, and there's difficult things in all of our lives, but I'm alive and I'm breathing. And today I got to see people, I got to laugh with people, I got to smile at someone smiled at me. I got to have that today. I got to eat a great meal today. There's so many things to be grateful for and thankful for. And this film, it did that for me, and it remade me, and it helped me to be more full of gratitude that I get to be here and I get to exist, I get to do this. And it's a great, great film. I cannot recommend this enough. I've thanked Stephanie, I don't know how many times, for introducing me to this one. It's so good. If you've never seen it, absolutely check it out, 9 Days. So the next film that remade me is a film that I waited. It came out and it blew up, and it was like financially, it was one of the biggest films at the time. And I didn't want to see it. I heard all these stories of people going to the theater to see it, and just how powerful it was, and people getting physically ill and leaving the theater. And so I wanted to see it when there was no one there. And so I waited till it was almost the end of the run. And then I went on like a Wednesday afternoon at like 2 when nobody goes to movies. And I went there and I watched this thing almost by myself. There was maybe 3 other people in the theater. And it was exactly how I wanted to experience it, on the big screen, but kind of intimate, more alone. I've watched it one other time since, after owning it. And again, it was by myself, and I don't intend to watch it with anyone. It's just deeply personal. It makes me think and explore. And so anyway, the film is The Passion of the Christ. Some people, I know there was controversy around with Mel Gibson and directing it, his views and everything. Controversy around the level of violence. I will say, when it comes to level of violence, I've spent quite a few years studying Roman culture and reading countless amount of books on that time period and this type of execution and this type of violence that was used for fear. And truthfully, historically, this film, while many would say it just overdoes the violence, historically, this is actually a PG version of what really happened and what really went on. So the violence here is, again, historically, it's actually lesser than what it really was. This film, depending on where you land theologically, obviously will determine your experience of this film as well. This is a film where I was broken the entire time. The entire time I was watching it, I was weeping. I've never had such a physiological experience watching a film. I was shifting and moving around a lot. I was speaking back to the screen. I've never done that in a film, where I was, especially during the times where they're torturing Christ, just asking him to stop and don't do this and leave him alone. And I wasn't yelling it. I was kind of like under my breath, and I was just so uncomfortable and just so deeply overwhelmed by it. And this film, so C.S. Lewis, who famously wrote The Chronicles of Narnia, he said, when it comes to the man of Jesus, because he said some pretty wild stuff about him being God and all of this, he said you need to land in one of three places when it comes to Jesus. He's either a liar, he's a lunatic, or he's Lord. And so if he's a liar, then obviously just pitch it. Like, don't listen to a single thing he says. If he's a lunatic, then I guess have compassion and feel bad. But again, you don't buy into it. But if he's Lord, well, then it kind of, it needs to have a response. What kind of response? And so for me, in watching this film, I watched it, and watching everything he went through, knowing historically it was even worse than what I saw on the screen. If it's legit, if he's not lunatic, if he's not a liar, if he really is who he says he was, what wrecked me so deeply was, how do I live in response to that? If this was real, if this is real, and this was an act of grace and mercy for me, then how do I respond to that in my life? It destroyed me. It wrecked me. I'll never watch it with someone because it's so overwhelming to me. But anyway, this film remade me, and it definitely changed how I understood, because while I may have read about this, I'd never seen this on the screen. And so this it did a number on me. And I have friends all over the theological perspective who may hold this belief, who may not, and they all said that it was very overwhelming for them too. But for me, in just thinking about if the whole lunatic, liar, Lord thing, and if it's legit, what does this mean for me? And how do I respond to it? It was overwhelming. It remade me. I'm sure if I watched it again, and I may in the future, it'll be a while, it'll probably deeply affect me again. But anyway, another film that remade me, powerful in my life, The Passion of the Christ. So the next one, films that remade me, we're going a little lighter now. And this is a film that, again, you might think is silly. How would this remake you? But it did, and it continues to. And it's one of my favorite Robin Williams films, and it's Patch Adams. So this film, he's a doctor, training to wants to be a doctor, but he also wants to make people laugh. And he wants to bring joy into people's lives in some of their darkest, scariest moments. So what I do in my work, there's a lot of that. I spend time at hospitals. I meet with people who are going through difficult things. I spend time in hospice with people, some of their hardest, darkest times. And one of the things that this film helped me to see is that it is a noble act, a noble thing to, when you're with people and they're grieving, and I do a lot of that being with people, and my work is to laugh with them. And then when it's appropriate and when it's right, to evoke a smile. And if you can laugh with someone in the midst of your pain, their pain, midst of grief, there is something really beautiful and powerful that happens, that joy can even be found in some of the most darkest places in our lives. And he did that. Patch did it. And some of the people, when they're going through scary things, when they just wanted to be touched, they just wanted human interaction, they just needed to smile, just needed to laugh in the midst of it all, he helped evoke that. And it's a noble thing to do that. And so for me, it remade me, and it's not just a silly thing to do it. It's a noble thing, and it's an important thing. When you're with someone, and if it's appropriate, the right time to take hold of that moment, take hold of that time, and to laugh and to smile And if you got to make a joke about yourself, you got to, whatever you got to do. If you can bring joy in the midst of hardship, in the midst of grief, in the midst of loss, it's a good thing sometimes. And sometimes it brings us closer together. Sometimes it's a lifeline for people. Sometimes it's just what they needed at that time. So anyway, Patch Adams, it helped remake me in that it's not a silly thing. It's not a foolish thing to bring joy into hard things. It's a noble thing. It's a good thing. And it's something that's needed. So anyway, films that remade me, Patch Adams. So another film that remade me, it's probably remade a lot of people, and it's Saving Private Ryan. The part of the film that remade me was certainly that opening scene when they're storming the beach. But throughout the film, there are moments where you see these grown men who are willing to sacrifice their life, willing to give everything. And they're doing it with such courage, but at the same time, you see these moments where they are so afraid, like a little child afraid. And I remember the first time seeing this, that jarring me. I'd never seen a grown person see that kind of fear in their face and in their eyes. And it showed me that there's a level of fear that I do not know, that I have not experienced. I've never gone through anything like this. I haven't served. I haven't gone to war. I have not faced the kinds of things these soldiers, these heroes have faced. And this film remade me in that it helped me to understand at a different level that there is fear that goes beyond what I understand. Fear that is deeper than what I think. And this film wrecks me. That opening scene, every time I've seen this film, and I don't like to watch this with people, I like to watch it by myself. Every time that opening scene, tears are streaming down my face every single time as I see the fear in these men, and I think about what really happened, and I think about the fear that happened with real people who really gave their lives. And I heard an interview once of someone who was talking to a veteran who fought in the war and who saw this film, and they said they had to leave. In that opening scene, they walked out of the theater, not because they were angry, but because when they were watching it, they could smell diesel. As they were seeing the film, all of these sensory things started happening of what they actually experienced, and they left and they said what was on the screen is exactly what it was like. And so these filmmakers, what they did in this film was unbelievable, and it remade me. It showed me a level of fear that I never understood before, never experienced, obviously, and it changed me, absolutely changed me. So, Saving Private Ryan. This next film I don't own a physical copy of. I've seen it once, and I don't know if I'll ever watch it again. And it's Schindler's List. If you've seen it, it's changed you. In particular, obviously the whole film is horrific and breaks you, and you weep and you're emotional throughout the entire thing. But the part of the film that just changed me, and I can say that it changed me in that I think about this scene. I have continued to throughout my life. Since I've seen this film, I continue to think about this scene. And I would say probably 6, 7, 8, 9 times a year, I just am reminded of it. And it's a scene near the end. He's already rescued over 1,000 Jews. And at the end, he's looking at a ring and he's looking at his car and he's thinking about, and he realizes, I could have saved more people. He's saved over 1,000 lives. And he realizes I could have saved more. And for me, the part of the film that changed me is it made me think, and it continues to on a regular basis, at the end of my life, when I look back, when I think about what I've done with my time, my energy, my finances, am I going to look back and stand by and be proud of what I invested my life into? Or at the end of my life, will I look back and go, I could have done so much more to help other people and to bring joy into people's lives, to just assist people? Or will I look back and go, I could have done more? Or will I look back and go, I spent it all. I spent my life on it, and I think I did my absolute best. And so that one scene and the grief on his face, and there's this, that moment where he's going through it all and he's just surrounded by people and they're hugging him and they're saying, no, you've done so much, and you've changed generations of people's lives with what you've done. And he's mourning, I could have done more. And that scene haunts me, and it has absolutely changed me. And I think about it all the time, again, with my time, my resources, my energy. What can I do with it? And at the end of my life, will I be okay with how I spent it, how I spent my life in caring for the people around me? So anyway, Schindler's List, obviously an unbelievably powerful film, but it certainly has remade me. So this next film, again, you may think this is silly. How can this make your list? You just talked about Schindler's List, and how could you go here? But this film was so good, and it is obviously it's very lighthearted. I saw this in the theater, and you may hate this film, but it was powerful to me, and it was a phenomenal reminder of a truth that I think is lost a lot of the time. Anyway, the film is, and you're gonna laugh at this, is Smallfoot. And so it's these Bigfoot culture, and they're going through life and they have all of these things that they believe we have to do this because we've always done it. This is what we do. We have to do it this way. And all of these things they hold on to as being the truth. And then you have this one young man who's going through it, and he begins to question everything. Why are we doing it this way? Why do we believe it is this way? Is it possible that it's different than that? And I was watching this film, and every kid in the theater, family in the theater, was just laughing at this, and rightfully so, because there's really funny stuff in there. But there are moments in this film where I just wanted to stand up and scream, yes, like absolutely. Because this film was a reminder to me of how in our lives, in culture, in life, that when it comes to cultural ideas, societal ideas, theological ideas, political ideas, we should, when we look at an idea and go, that doesn't make sense, or at least I have a question about that. In the film, they were like squashing the questions, going, you don't ask those questions. This is just the way we do it. This is what we've always believed. And this film was just this powerful reminder to me of like, no. We question stuff. And if it stays the same, if we question it and yeah, that's the way it should be because that's what the truth is, then cool. But if not, then we need to change, and we need to believe different things. We need to do different things if it needs to change. So questioning cultural, societal, theological, political ideas, this film, no one walked away out of the theater thinking this. Maybe it was just me, but I left the theater going, this is powerful, this is good, this is true, that we need to do this kind of thing in society with everything, and that's okay. We shouldn't be afraid of questions. We should ask the questions, we should allow the questions, and just see where the questions take us. And so anyway, this remade me. I know it seems silly, it remade me. Smallfoot, it's on the list. Okay, this is number 10, and first off, before I give you the 10th title, I want to say to Altaz, thank you so much. This was a really, really great exercise in looking through my collection. Friends, please go to CineArtTherapy. Altaz, subscribe to his channel, participate in this challenge. This was really good, and it made me think, this is really good stuff. So anyway, Altaz, thank you so much. Really appreciate this challenge. Last film, again, you might think this is a little bit on the light side, but it was really, really good. I was told before I saw this film I'm going to cry a lot, and I did. I started crying about 2 minutes in, and I think I finished about 10 minutes after. And it's the film Wonder. If you've seen this film, you know, it's an emotional film. And it's this fella's name, I think his name's Augie. His name's Augie. And he's gone through a lot of surgeries, and he has some facial deformities that he wears this helmet because what the kids might think, what the kids might say. And it's kind of about his journey going into school and navigating all of that. And on the surface, you might go, yeah, this is a film about this little boy and what he went through and the pain of what he went through as he was navigating all this and his emotions. And it is about that. But the film is also about his family. And you have his mom, his dad, his sisters, and you also have his friends in here. But what this film does so brilliantly is, in life, what we can do sometimes is when someone's going through a struggle, someone's dealing with an illness, someone's dealing with just a difficult time, is all of the attention can be put on the individual and go, it's all of their pain, it's their struggle, and everyone's attention is there, and there should be attention there. But what this film did beautifully is the dad was also going through a lot. As Augie was dealing with his pain, the dad also had all of his pain and his struggle also attached to his son. The mom had her pain, her struggle, her anxieties attached to her son. Sisters, friends, everyone had pain and struggle. And what this film did great in doing was that it showcased that. It was about Augie, but it was about the family. And so this film remade me in helping me to see that there are perspectives to pain. That if you know someone who's going through something, Obviously, we need to help and love and care for and surround the individual, but then also take a step back and look at all of the people in their inner circle, because all of the people in their inner circle are also struggling and going through their things as they care for that person in the middle who is struggling. And they also need compassion. They also need help. They also need care. And so this film does a great job in saying, yeah, we care for the ones who are hurting, but take a step back, look on the wider view, because there are more people who are attached to the thing that we have our attention on. And all of those people need care and attention as well. So there is perspective to pain, and it is bigger sometimes than we give it credit for. So anyway, films that remade me, this helped me see things differently. It's the film Wonder. Altaz, thank you so much for this challenge. This was deeply meaningful to go through this and to think through films and how films have changed me, remade me. Friend, CineArtTherapy, head over to the channel, subscribe, check out his content over there, participate in this challenge if you'd like to. It's really meaningful, and it made me think, it made me rethink, and I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of film, is that it can do that in our lives. I also think that this is the longest video I've ever recorded, and so Altaz, thank you for that as well. And friends, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below what you think of these films, if they had an impact on you and how they impacted you. Let me know if there are some films that have remade you, that have deeply affected you, impacted you. I would love to know. Let me know in the comments below. Friends, thank you so much. Altaz, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it as always. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time.